What is going on, fellow web developers? My name is TYLERP, and in today's video we're going to be creating our first Laravel website. Now, Laravel is a great tool and it's not specifically designed for websites, but you can use it for websites. So in this video I'm going to show you how you can set that up. So the first thing we want to do is create a new Laravel project. Now, if you haven't done this before, please go check out my first video, Getting Started with Laravel, to get started. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say composer, create project Laravel /Laravel, and then we're going to give it a name. And in this instance, we're going to call it Laravel website YouTube. Hit enter, and that's going to create us our website project. So once that is done, we will then continue on with the video. Today's video is brought to you by Cloudways, a managed cloud hosting platform for PHP-based applications. Cloudways takes over all server management and security hassles to let you solely focus on your business. Their custom stack provides performance boosts, managed backups that keep your apps safe, and a staging environment that lets you test code without breaking the live site. Plus, pre-configured Composer and integrated Git make deployments a breeze. And you get a choice between 5 top cloud providers, including DigitalOcean, AWS, Linode, GCE, and Vultr. With Cloudways, you not only get flexibility, but peace of mind. So if you're an agency or an e-commerce store owner, Cloudways is a great fit for all your managed hosting requirements. And I particularly like their slogan too, moving dreams forward. It fits what they do. Don't forget to use promo code TYLERP to get up to 1 month free hosting with $15 free hosting credit. Okay, so that has now been completed. So let's cd into our new directory. So it's Laravel website YouTube. Now, if we clear this and we just run an LSL, you can see all the files we have inside of here. Now, let's clear this. Now, before we get started, we actually have to install Tailwind for this tutorial. So to do that, I'm going to run over to my web browser, type in tailwind /docs/guides/Laravel, and then we're going to copy this command right here, npm install -d to save it to your development as def dependency, sorry, and then we're going to call tailwind css at latest, post css at latest, and auto prefixer at latest. Now, all of these will allow us to run and install Laravel. I don't know why I've got a separate tab open there. Let's just close that. There we go. Clear that. There we go. So that part has been done. So we can get Tailwind sorted. Now, we could do this if you want to customize it, but for my instance, I don't need to customize the Tailwind instance. So I'm just going to ignore all this. The next thing we need to do is copy this require field. We need to go back, and we actually have to open up our code in Visual Studio Code. So over here on the left, I'm going to go down to webpack.mix.js, and this is where you can add in your post CSS config. And I'm just going to paste in require tailwind CSS and hit save. So that is now set up. Now there's one last thing we need to do. We need to go into Tailwind here. We need to copy this. We need to go into our resources, CSS and app.css, and paste in the free Tailwind components or pieces, lines, imports, whatever you want to call them. Let's close that, and we're going to close the Webpack mix. We're then going to go back to our terminal. I'm going to clear it. I'm just going to run npm I to install all the development dependencies, well, all the dependencies all together, which will start installing them now. And then once this is done, we will carry on with the video. Okay guys, as you can see, that is done. There's an error here, but it's just because I don't have Xcode installed. Well, I have it installed, but I don't have the packages installed with it. So that's fine. That doesn't actually need that. But let's just clear this. And now we just need to run npm run def. And what this is going to do, it's basically going to run our mix, which is going to compile both our JavaScript and our CSS files into the public folder. There you go. So that has now done. Now we can clear this, and the last command, the absolute last command we need to run is an artisan command. It's PHP artisan surf. Now you can run surf with an E or without it. I don't know why they've done that, but you know, it works. So there you go. And let's just copy this command here, or not this command, this route. Let's go here and refresh. There you go. We can close that tab there. So there you go. We've got the Laravel starting boilerplate. So now we've got that, let's head back to our application into our VS Code here, and we can now go to our public, go to our CSS, and we can see the compiled tailwind here. We can have our compiled JavaScript here as well. That's fine. So let's close public and let's close well, we don't actually have to close the resources. So there's a few files we're going to need to open here. So one of them is inside of the routes. We're going to open up the web.php. And as you can see here, we've got get route /, which is fine, but we want to change this to be the index file because I like using an index file rather than a welcome file. Let's copy this and paste it again, and we're going to get a /about route, which is going to get the about template. But also on these, we're going to set names. Now these names allow us to use the route command inside of our blade template to basically call these names, and I'm going to call this home. I'm then going to call this name, and this is just going to be about. Now, by default, this will be called about because it's path. It's smart enough to know this, but name would not because it's index and it's just a /. It kind of needs a name. So there we go. We've got the name there. I don't know why I closed that. And there you go. So let's create these files. So we can close this web.php now. Close the routes, and now inside of our resources we have the fuse folder. Now we have this welcome.blade.php, which is pretty useless to us right now, so let's just delete it. We don't need it. The next thing we want to do is we want to set up a layout. Now a layout allows you to define styling, define a basic template for your whole website. So if you have a navbar, which is going to be on every single page, you can use a layout to define that. So let's create a new file. Let's just say layout, and then we're going to do /. So this will create a directory called layout, and then we're going to call this default.blade.php. Now you can create multiple layouts. I'm only going to create the one layout because we only need one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press ! and tab. Now in VS Code that uses Emmet, the extension's called Emmet, which will basically pre-fill out all of this stuff here, which is really nice and simple. Then we're just going to call this TYLERP. You can call it whatever you like. And then we're going to link to our style sheet. Now Blade has a really nice templating engine where we can use these tags to enter in some code. Now in this code we can say asset, and we can say we want the CSS /app.css. And what this will do is it will get the link to our public CSS app.css here. And it will link it directly here. So now our styling should be done. Now in here we can, because we have, we basically have Tailwind installed, so we can give these some classes. Now Tailwind classes could be background, grey, and we're going to say 700. We're then going to give everything a text of white because if the background's a dark colour, the text should be a light colour. Now in here, let's just say header, and let's just write in here header for now. We're then going to create a main, and inside the main, we're going to use another blade tag, which is here, yield. Now what yield does is it basically pulls content or gives you a section where you can inject content from another file. So this one, we're going to give it a name. We're just going to call it page content. Now you can call this whatever you want, as long as you name it the same thing inside of our actual pages. We're then going to create a footer, and in here we're just going to say footer for now. Now we'll sort this out in a moment. So let's get our first page step. So let's go to Fuse, create a new file, and let's call it index.blade.php. And now in here, we need to actually say this extends. So if we type extends, you can see extend, and it asks for a name. Now this name is the path to our layout file. So we're going to say layout dot, and the dot stands for a /. You can use a / if you want, but I'm going to use a dot because it looks better. And I'm going to say default. And there you go. So that will now basically say we're using this page here. So we're pulling this through. Now, we want to use a section, and what a section does is basically injects content or injects whatever's inside of this into our yield. So as you can see, we've got page content and we've got page content. Now, these need to match, and whatever we type in here, let's just say homepage, save, it will be injected right here. So let's give this a go. Let's refresh, and as you can see, we've got a header, homepage and footer. And if we have a look in the elements here, you can see it is laid out exactly how we set it up, and the content we put inside of our main or inside of our index file, we can say page test to add an extra layer here, And as you can see, it's being injected straight inside of our main tag, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. So let's close this sidebar now and let's actually start laying out our home. Well, actually, let's get our navbar sorted. Navbar is always the first thing we should sort. Now, on the header, we're going to need a class of fixed. We're going to need a background gray of 700. Now, I know we've set a background gray on our body, but as we scroll, we still want to see that background above everything else. So we're going to give this a top of 0, a left of 0, and a right of 0, which will basically pin it to the top left and top right of the screen. We're then going to say C index is equal to 50, and inside of our header, we're going to have a container with an MX auto, which is going to basically contain all our stuff. And then we're going to have a H1 in here, which will have a text or extra large with a font of black. And now we're going to call this TYLERP. This will be like our logo. You can add a logo here, add anything you want. You can add an image tag. You can have whatever you want. It's totally up to you. There we go. So we've got our Tyler in there. We're now going to have our navbar, which is going to be nav, and we're going to use dot minus mx2. What minus does is it basically minuses the margin. So this is margin on the left and right. What we're doing is saying margin minus left by 2 and right by 2. So this will allow us to do some cool styling. So we're going to add an anchor tag in there now, and we're just going to use a hash to start with, and we're going to say home. But in here, we're going to give these a few classes. We're going to have text large. We want the text to be slightly bigger. We're then going to take what we've done here and put mx2 here. So you see we've done -2. We're then going to add 2. So that's going to give us the effect that the links are still touching the edge of the screen, but they will have space in between. Now that rhymed and I didn't mean to. Let's text white, and then we're going to give it the hover of text pink 500. Now this is a nice little color, I like it, and we're going to hit a transition on that as well, so it doesn't just snap to the color, it slowly fades. Well, I wouldn't say slow, but and then we're going to copy that, and we're just going to say about, and that's going to get us the about page. Now inside of our href here, we're going to use those templating strings again, and this time we're going to say root, but this time we're going to put the name. So if we go back to our route and our web, we gave these a name, so we can actually take this name home and pull it in here. And then I can do the same for our about here. So we're just going to say about, and these will pre-fill with the correct link. So let's go back to our page, refresh, and there you go. You can see we've got the about and the home links right there. But one issue is they're not sitting there. This looks terrible. Let's style that up a bit better. So let's go to our container here. Let's give this a flex to give it the flex display type. We're going to justify between to make sure there's space between our logo and our navbar. And then we're just going to give the whole thing a padding of 4, which is, I think, 4 rem. Which then, if we refresh, you can see looks really nice. It's a nice, subtle navbar. Now, we need to create the rest of our content. So, looking at this, it's looking good. Let's just split this up. And you know what? Let's just do our footer real quick. It only take 2 seconds. We're going to create a container with the MX Auto and a padding of 4 again. And then inside of here, we're just going to put a P tag. It's going to have a copy. And we're going to say TYLERP. So we'll copyright TYLERP, and we're just going to say learn to code. And if we go back, you can see our footer for some reason is hidden down there. But once we add the rest of our code in, it will be all nice and dandy. So let's go to... Cool. Let's go back to our index.blade here, and everything is currently hidden behind our navbar. So let's fix that. Let's create a let's create a new section in here. So we're going to create a HTML section. It's going to have the class of relative. It's going to have a min height of screen, which will stretch it to the screen's height. We're going to have flex, and we're going to have item center. Hit enter. And then we're going to have a container, MX Auto again, and this is going to text center everything. We're then going to have a H2 with the text of 4XL. We're then going to have, well, we're going to have a hover effect in here too, but we can't currently do that with emit, so we're just going to hit enter. I'm then going to say hover, or not hover, we're going to say SM, which is a screen size, and we're just going to say text AXL, which means anything, any screen, once this is above the screen size of SM, we're going to make sure the text is a bit larger. We're then going to say learn to, and then we're going to have a span of text pink 500, which we're going to say code. We're then going to start off with a H3, which is going to have text to XL and italic. And we're also going to have another SM of text for XL as well there. Now inside of here, we're just going to say with TYLERP. And there we go. So that should now look a little better. There we go. We've got a learn to code with TYLERP. Now you can add a background image or anything here. Totally up to you what you want to do with the styling of this. This is just some simple styling for now. And I think it looks really simplistic, minimalistic, but really nice. So there we go. We've got this nice little learn to code here, which is nice. Let's add in a little scroll to learn more section. So let's create an absolute down here. It's going to have a bottom of 0, a left of 0, a right of 0, and then we're just gonna basically say padding 20. And now down here we're just gonna have a .text center. Oh, sorry, that needs to be a paragraph tag, so let's just swap those to p tags. And then here we're just gonna say scroll to learn more. Save, refresh, and now at the bottom you can see scroll to learn more. Now you can add an animated icon here, you can even add a little mouse above it, but for now we're going to leave that at that. So there you go, you can even see our footer down here with our learn to code screen. Let's create the next sections of this now. So we're going to, inside of the page content still, we're going to have a, let's just say a section with the padding of 20. We're then going to have a max width screen MD and then MX auto. So we're not going to have this as wide as all our other screens because I kind of want it to sit a bit more centered. So we're going to have this a text of 4XL with just be a little title, font bold, and an MB of 6, which we're just going to say introduction. Just a mini introduction. Let's give it a H4 now with the text of XL and the MB of 3, and we're just going to say short description. Also, let's give this a text grey of about 200 to make it a bit more dimmer. We're then going to give a MB6 paragraph tag, and we're going to say lorem 50. That's going to give us 50 letters or words of lorem ipsum text. And there you go. Now we're going to have an anchor tag below here. Again, the route will be to, so this route is actually going to go to our about page, and it's just going to say learn more. Now let's give this some styling to make it look like a button. So what we're going to say is background pink 500. We're then going to text center it, and we're also going to say padding Y2, padding X4, and we're going to round it. We're then going to give it a hover effect. Now a hover effect can be the background purple 500, and we're going to hit it up with a transition so it's smooth. Let's go back, let's refresh, and let's scroll down there. So there you go, you can see we've got the introduction, it says short description here, and we can learn more by clicking here. Obviously we haven't got an about page template yet, so it's going to give us an error, but we'll set that up in a minute. And there you go. So now we have this first section. Let's create the rest of our sections. So let's say section.py20 again. We're going to give it again we're basically going to do this again. So let's just copy it to speed things up, paste it in, and end our diff there. Now let's change this from introduction to what can you learn, question mark. We're then going to say .flex and then .flex wrap, which is going to be our we're going to have two boxes on screen, so we're going to flex wrap them, and then we're going to give it the minus MX2 again, and now in here we're just going to give a diff with the width of full, we're going to give it an MB of 3 and a padding X of 2. So the padding X of 2 needs to match our MX of 2 here, just so we can get some even spacing. After the width of full, we're going to do SMW half, which is going to give us 50% width on small screens instead of a full width on mobile screens. And then in here we're going to add a padding of 4, we're going to add a background grey of 500 and a height of full. Now in here we can have a H4 with text XL, we're going to have a font bold, and we're going to have an MB of 3, and in here we're just going to say game development. That's one of the things we're going to be teaching today. Thank you very much. We're going to have a text grey of 200 and an MB of 3 here. And I'm going to lorem ipsum about 20 pixels, 20 pieces of text there. So there you go. So that's looking a little better. And let's give it a button. But this time well, actually, we're going to give this a button, and it's going to have the href, but this time we're not going to use route. This time we're going to use an external link. So we're going to say URL, and in the URL we can say https://youtube.com/ and my game development channel is called Muddy Wolf. If you hadn't subscribed to it and you're interested in game development, don't forget to head over there and go subscribe. That was a shameless plug. And let's call this Learn Now. So let's write here a class, and inside this class we're just going to say background pink. Well, you know what, we're going to literally take our button class here. Now we could assign this inside of Tailwind, but for now I'm not going to an actual class. But for now, this is a quick way of pasting it in. There you go. So let's go back and just have a look what this is looking like so far. So you can see we've got one box here. It's looking pretty nice. You know what? I think it needs a bit of rounded. So here, let's call rounded. So that's cool. Let's go rounded LG because I want it to be a bit larger. There you go. That's looking a lot nicer. Now, should we give this a shadow or not? Let's have a look. No, I think the shadow doesn't work. What about shadow large? Maybe we'll try a bit bigger. I don't know if that's working. No, you know what? Let's leave the shadow off. The shadow doesn't work, guys. And now let's copy this here, paste it below, and let's change this to be web development. Let's keep those all the same, but we're going to change our web development channel is this one, and that is /TYLERP. So let's refresh, and there you go. We've got our game development and our web development, and we can click on both, and this will take us to those pages. And we can click on the game development page, and we go to the Muddy Wolf channel. There you go, pretty nice. Let's go back and let's start doing some more. So we've got that all sorted. We've got another section to add. So we've done what can you learn. Let's add in one more section, and this section is going to be where can you learn. It's pretty much going to be the same thing. Again, your website should look however you want it to. We're just going to do a screen MD and an MX auto, and down here we're just going to say h3.text4xl.fontbolds.mb6, and we're just going to say where to learn question mark. We're going to do a h4.textxl.mb6, and in here I'm just going to say learn to code on YouTube via with one of my channels. And then we're just going to have another diff minus mx2, and we're going to have sm flex in here, so it will flex them on a bigger screen. And we're just going to basically create two buttons. Now I'm just going to copy and paste these buttons in so we don't have to write them all out, but it's the exact same button as up here. These ones have a target blank. We could probably add this target blank and no referrer to these as well, because that would make sense. There we go, and there we go. So now when we come back, we have this final section here. We've got a little emoji in there. I thought that was pretty cute to add in. And there you go. So there you go. It's just a simple one-page sort of website here. Let's go add in the second page. When we click about, we've got an error. So what we need to do is we need to go to, we can drop our layouts down, but we can open up our views and let's create about.blades.php. Now inside of here, we need to do the same thing again. We need to say it extends our layouts.default template, and we need a section and in here it's called page content. So now what we can do is we can set up our next section, and this is going to be quite similar to our previous section. So we're going to say py20.min height screen.flex.item center, and now in here we're going to have a max width screen large.mx auto. And we're basically going to have a h2 with the text of 6xl.textcenter.mb6. In here, we're just going to say about. Let's have a look now. So now we've added that page. You can see we actually have a page in here. So there we go. We've got the about page. Let's add a h3 with text 4xl, a text center again, and .text gray 200. MB6, and this is just to say who is Tyler Potts. Well, I don't even know, so you guys tell me. We're then going to say MB3, and we're going to have some lorem of about 100 text in there. We're going to do another MB3 paragraph, which is just going to say lorem about 25, And finally, we're going to have an MB3, which is going to have a lorem of about, let's say, 50. There we go. So it's a bit uneven, but I think it works. And this bottom one, let's give it an MB6 because we want to push this button we're about to create. So we're going to have a text-centered button with a anchor tag, which is going to have the root of home, and it's going to say is go home. And we're going to say class is equal to inline block, so we want the text center to take effect. Background pink 500, text center, padding Y 2, padding X 4, rounded. I could have copied the button class we've been setting up, but I thought, we'll just write out again. Transition, and there you go. Hit refresh, and you can see here we have the about, who is TYLERP, and this nice little paragraph here with the go home button. So if we click this, it's going to take us home. So as we scroll, you can see we've got the introduction, go to the short description. We could hit this to take us back, and we can hit home to come back home. It's as simple as that. We can scroll down here to the learn more to go to our different channels, or we can just go to one of these buttons at the bottom here. Now this is a very basic website, and obviously the styling isn't the best in the world, but it definitely has shown you how you can set up your own Laravel website. Now if you want to host this, you can go over to Cloudways, the sponsor for this video, and by using the code TYLERP, all the details are in the description, you'll be able to get $15 free of hosting. And Cloudways work really well with Laravel, so you can go and set up your Laravel website with a free $15 worth of hosting to get set up. So guys, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button, smash that subscribe button, and if you have any questions, feedback, or anything at all you want to say to me, drop it in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.